Welcome to the Sci-Fi Codes channel. Have fun listening to this story. Don't forget to subscribe. With the subscribe button, Chapter 1. The Undefeated Warrior. Kurak stood tall, his massive figure casting an imposing shadow over the polished metal floor of the Galactic arena. His presence alone commanded respect, and the anticipation in the air was palpable as billions of spectators across the galaxy tuned in to witness yet another triumph of the undefeated warrior. For centuries, Kurak had crushed every opponent, from the savage crick beasts of the Hadean moons to the cunning strategists of the Orion cluster. His reputation was not just built on raw strength, but on an unrelenting will to conquer and dominate all who dared to face him. No being, no matter how formidable, had ever been able to withstand his might for long. Today, however, something felt different. There was a quiet tension that permeated the arena, a sense of unease that even Kurak could not entirely shake off. The challenge had come from an unexpected corner of the galaxy, from Earth, a planet known more for its diplomacy and fragile alliances than for producing warriors capable of standing against galactic champions. Humans were seen as unremarkable in the grand tapestry of interstellar politics, hardly a match for the titans and apex predators that thrived in the galactic gladiatorial arenas. As Kurak flexed his massive arms, the arena doors slid open with a soft mechanical hiss, revealing a lone figure stepping into the blinding lights. Alex Carter, an unassuming man by galactic standards, walked forward with a calmness that defied the gravity of the moment. His build was lean but muscular, his movements controlled and purposeful. There was no flash, no elaborate display of power, just a quiet confidence that hinted at a lifetime of battles fought far from the glitz and glamour of the arena. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, their disbelief echoing through the vast space. To them, Alex was a curiosity, a puzzle that did not quite fit. How could a human, a species viewed as weak and underdeveloped, dare to challenge Kurak, the most formidable warrior in the galaxy? Kurak himself watched his opponent with a mixture of amusement and curiosity. In all his centuries of battle, he had seen countless challengers rise and fall, each one more certain of their victory than the last. But none had been quite like this. None had stepped into the arena with such quiet resolve. "State your name and your reason for this challenge," Kurak's voice boomed, amplified by the arena's speakers, resonating with an authority that could shake the very core of the bravest hearts. It was a ritualistic formality, a declaration that usually preceded a swift and brutal victory for the undefeated champion. "Alex Carter," Alex replied, his voice steady and unflinching despite the overwhelming presence before him. "I challenge you not out of pride or arrogance, but to prove that strength is not solely defined by muscle and might. It is about strategy, resilience, and the heart of a warrior." A ripple of surprise passed through the crowd, a rare moment of silence falling over the arena. The words were bold, almost defiant, and unlike anything that had been heard in Kurak's countless victories. There was no bravado, no empty threats, just a simple, honest statement of purpose. Kurak's amusement faded, replaced by a flicker of respect. In his long reign as champion, he had faced countless opponents driven by glory, vengeance, or fear. But this was different. Alex was not here for the spectacle. He was here to test himself against the best, to prove something deeper. "Very well, human," Kurak responded, his tone now laced with a newfound seriousness. "But know this, I will show no mercy." The arena erupted in cheers and shouts, the crowd eager for the spectacle that was about to unfold. The lights dimmed, and the massive screens that surrounded the arena lit up with the countdown to the battle. Alex closed his eyes for a brief moment, centering himself, replaying his strategy in his mind. He knew that Kurak was unlike any opponent he had ever faced. This was not just about physical endurance, it was about reading his opponent, exploiting every weakness and staying one step ahead of the warrior who had never known defeat. Kurak, on the other hand, shifted his stance, muscles tensing in anticipation. He had seen many challengers freeze in fear at the sight of him, but Alex's calm demeanor was unnerving in its own way. As the final seconds of the countdown ticked away, Kurak allowed himself a small smile. It had been a long time since he had felt a true challenge, and today, he would remind the galaxy why he was the undefeated warrior. Chapter 2. The Clash of Titans. The moment the countdown reached 0, the arena exploded with the roar of the crowd. Kurak wasted no time, launching himself forward with the force of a raging storm. His massive fists, capable of shattering steel and bone alike, swung toward Alex with the intent to end the fight before it even began. Kurak's style was a brutal, overwhelming assault, one that relied on sheer power to crush his opponents into submission. But Alex was ready. With a speed that defied expectation, Alex moved. He ducked under Kurak's first punch, the force of the blow creating a gust of wind that ruffled his hair. He sidestepped the second strike, his movements fluid and controlled, each dodge precise and deliberate. Alex had spent years honing his reflexes in the underground fighting pits of Earth, where every match was a fight for survival against adversaries who played dirty and fought to kill. This was no different, he reminded himself. Every move Kurak made, Alex had anticipated in his mind 100 times over. Kurak's frustration began to show as his powerful strikes continued to miss their mark. He was used to opponents cowering under his onslaught, their defenses crumbling within moments. But Alex was not like the others. He was not intimidated by Kurak's size or his fearsome reputation. Instead, Alex seemed to flow around Kurak's attacks like water, conserving his energy and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Minutes passed, and the battle that was expected to be a swift defeat for Alex transformed into a tense and tactical standoff. The two fighters danced a deadly ballet, each testing the other's limits. Kurak's blows were relentless, each one capable of ending the fight with a single hit. Yet Alex continued to evade, his smaller stature allowing him to slip through the narrowest of gaps in Kurak's defenses. Kurak, though powerful, was not infallible. His style was aggressive but predictable, relying on overwhelming force to batter his opponents into submission. Alex, by contrast, was methodical, calculating every move with the precision of a chess master. He had studied Kurak's previous fights, noting the slight delay between his swings, the brief moments of recovery that left him vulnerable. And now, in the heat of the battle, those observations were paying off. As the fight wore on, Kurak's frustration grew. His initial amusement had turned into a cold, simmering anger. He was not accustomed to prolonged battles, and the effort of keeping up with Alex's relentless evasion was taking its toll. Beads of sweat began to form on Kurak's brow, and his breathing grew heavier. Alex saw his opportunity, a momentary lapse in Kurak's defenses, a tiny opening that could turn the tide. With a burst of speed, Alex darted forward, feinting to the left before pivoting sharply to the right. Kurak, caught off guard, swung wide, leaving his side exposed. Alex didn't hesitate. He drove his fist into Kurak's ribcage with a sharp, calculated blow, a move designed not to overpower but to disrupt. Kurak stumbled, the force of the impact driving him back a step. It was a minor victory, but in that split second, the balance of power shifted. The audience, which had been roaring with every near miss and powerful strike, fell into a stunned silence. For the first time in centuries, Kurak had been pushed back. Kurak's eyes narrowed, a flicker of something dangerous and primal flashing in his gaze. He straightened, regaining his composure. But the damage was done. Alex had proven that he could not only withstand Kurak's onslaught, but could also strike back with precision. The battle was far from over, and the galaxy's greatest warrior was no longer invincible. Chapter 3. A Test of Wills. The silence in the galactic arena was heavy, hanging over the crowd like a shroud. It was a stark contrast to the deafening cheers and roars that had filled the space just moments before. Kurak, still reeling from the unexpected strike, circled Alex with newfound caution. His usually confident stride was now tinged with uncertainty. The mighty warrior, who had spent centuries building an unblemished record of victory, was now facing an opponent who had not only withstood his power, but had exposed a weakness. The tension in the air was palpable, a silent acknowledgement from the audience that this battle was unlike any they had ever witnessed. Alex maintained his stance, his breathing controlled, his eyes locked on Kurak's every move. He could sense the shift in the battle's dynamics. Kurak was still dangerous, there was no doubt about that. But the veneer of invincibility had been cracked. Alex knew he had only a brief window to capitalize on Kurak's momentary lapse. His heart pounded in his chest, adrenaline sharpening his senses, but he remained focused. This was not just a physical confrontation. It was a mental chess game, and each move had to be precise. Kurak, on the other hand, was grappling with a mixture of frustration and grudging respect. He had faced countless challengers over the years, beings far larger and more imposing than this human, yet none had ever tested him in this way. He was not accustomed to being on the defensive, and Alex's ability to evade and counter his attacks was unsettling. For the first time in a long while, Kurak found himself having to think several moves ahead, adjusting his strategy on the fly. With a guttural roar, Kurak charged again, his fists a blur of motion as he unleashed a flurry of powerful strikes. This time, there was no holding back, no calculated restraint. Kurak's movements were fueled by a raw, unbridled determination to end the fight. Each blow was aimed with lethal intent, each swing meant to crush the human before him. But Alex was ready. He met Kurak's onslaught with the same agility and foresight that had kept him alive in countless underground fights back on Earth. Ducking under a high punch, Alex rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding a follow-up strike that would have shattered his ribs. He could feel the rush of air as Kurak's fist whizzed past, the sheer power behind each attack palpable even without contact. Alex countered with a quick jab to Kurak's side, a strike aimed to exploit the same weakness he had targeted before. Kurak grunted, but this time he did not stumble. He absorbed the blow, twisting his body to deliver a backhanded swipe that Alex barely managed to evade. The fight continued in this intense rhythm, a brutal dance of attack and evasion that kept the audience on the edge of their seats. Both fighters were pushing their limits, their movements growing more labored with each passing minute. Kurak's strikes, though still powerful, were beginning to slow, and Alex could see the strain etched on his opponent's face. The mighty warrior was feeling the effects of the extended battle, a testament to the relentless pace that Alex had set. Alex, too, was not unscathed. His muscles ached from the constant motion, and his reflexes, though sharp, were starting to dull under the strain of maintaining such a high level of focus. He knew that one misstep, one moment of hesitation could spell the end of his challenge, but as tired as he was, Alex's resolve remained unbroken. He had come too far, faced too many odds to falter now. The crowd watched in rapt silence, their cheers and jeers replaced by a collective breath held in anticipation. This was not the one-sided battle they had expected. It was a contest of equals, a test of wills that transcended the physical spectacle they were used to. For the first time in a long while, the outcome was uncertain. Kurak lunged forward, swinging his arm in a wide arc, but Alex anticipated the move, ducking low and slipping behind him. In a swift motion, Alex delivered a sharp kick to the back of Kurak's knee, causing the giant to stagger. Kurak spun around, but Alex was already on the move, dodging to the side and landing another precise strike to Kurak's midsection. It was a relentless assault, one that kept Kurak off balance and forced him to constantly readjust. Kurak's anger flared, but with it came a renewed determination. He planted his feet firmly on the ground, refusing to be driven back any further. With a surge of energy, Kurak swung with both arms, his fists crashing down like twin meteors. Alex leaped back just in time, but the force of Kurak's strike shook the ground, sending vibrations through Alex's feet. The two warriors paused, each taking a moment to catch their breath. They stood facing each other, sweat dripping from their bodies, their chests heaving with exertion. Kurak's gaze was intense, filled with a mixture of frustration, respect, and something else. An acknowledgement of the challenge he was facing. "You are not like the others," Kurak said, his voice strained but unwavering. "You fight with a spirit that I have not seen in centuries." Alex nodded, his expression equally intense. "I came here to prove that even the smallest can stand against the mightiest. It's not about size or power. It's about heart and strategy." Kurak's eyes flickered with a rare smile. "Then show me, human. Show me the heart of a warrior." With those words, the battle resumed, each fighter pushing past their limits, driven by a mutual respect and the desire to see who would emerge victorious. The arena, now silent save for the sounds of their clashing blows, bore witness to a fight that would be remembered for generations, a testament to the unbreakable will of a human who dared to challenge the undefeated warrior. Before proceeding, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Chapter 4. The Final Blow. As the battle wore on, the fatigue in Kurak's movements became more apparent. His once crisp and powerful strikes were now labored, each swing slower than the last. The immense strength that had made him a legend was still present, but the speed and precision that accompanied it were beginning to wane. Alex, too, was reaching the end of his endurance. His breaths came in ragged gasps, and every muscle in his body screamed in protest with each evasive maneuver. Yet neither warrior was willing to yield, each driven by a deep-seated determination to see the battle through to the end. Alex circled Kurak, looking for any sign of weakness, any opening that could turn the tide definitively in his favor. He knew that his strategy had to be perfect. A single mistake could still cost him everything. Kurak, on the other hand, had shifted his approach. He was no longer throwing wild, powerful punches, but instead was conserving his energy, waiting for Alex to make the first move. It was a battle of endurance now, a waiting game to see who would crack under the pressure first. The crowd, sensing the shift, grew restless. They were witnessing history, a battle where the outcome was not determined by sheer power, but by the will to endure, to outlast the opponent in every sense of the word. Whispers and murmurs filled the arena, a mix of disbelief and awe at the human's tenacity. Kurak's fans, who had expected a quick and brutal display of dominance, now watched with bated breath, unsure of what to expect. Alex feinted to the left, drawing a reaction from Kurak before darting to the right. He threw a rapid series of punches aimed at Kurak's midsection, each blow precise and calculated to sap the giant's remaining energy. Kurak grunted, absorbing the hits, but refused to yield ground. He swung back, catching Alex with a glancing blow that sent him staggering. It was a reminder of Kurak's enduring power, a sign that despite his fatigue, the champion was still a formidable opponent. Regaining his footing, Alex refocused, adjusting his strategy once more. He knew that a direct assault would not be enough. He had to think several steps ahead, to anticipate not just Kurak's movements, but his intentions. As Kurak lunged again, Alex sidestepped, letting Kurak's momentum carry him forward before delivering a sharp kick to the back of his knee. Kurak stumbled, momentarily off balance, and Alex seized the opportunity to strike. He darted forward, delivering a powerful upward kick to Kurak's jaw, a move that lifted the mighty warrior off his feet and sent him crashing onto his back. The arena erupted in a chorus of gasps and cheers. Kurak lay still, dazed and defeated. Alex stood over him, his chest heaving with exertion, his face a mix of relief and respect. The moment stretched on, the silence of the crowd hanging in the air like a held breath. Kurak slowly sat up, his gaze meeting Alex's. For a moment there was silence. Then, to everyone's surprise, Kurak extended his hand, a gesture of acknowledgement, of respect. "You have the heart of a warrior," Kurak said, his voice filled with genuine admiration. "You have earned this victory." Alex clasped Kurak's hand, pulling him to his feet. The crowd, once divided in their loyalties, now erupted in unified applause. In that moment, it was clear. This battle was not just about strength or strategy, but about the unbreakable spirit that defines a true warrior. As the cheers of the crowd echoed throughout the galaxy, Alex stood beside Kurak, not as a conqueror, but as an equal. The undefeated warrior had met his match, not in raw power, but in the resilience and courage of a human willing to face the impossible. And in that shared respect, a new chapter began, one that redefined what it meant to be a warrior in the vast, uncharted expanse of the galaxy. Chapter 5. The Aftermath. The galactic arena, once filled with the clamor of the battle, was now a sea of murmurs and applause. The screens that had showcased Kurak's every triumph now displayed the image of a bruised but victorious Alex Carter, standing beside the once unbeatable warrior. It was a moment that transcended the fight itself, leaving a lasting impression on every spectator, both in the arena and across the stars. For the first time in centuries, the narrative of invincibility had been shattered, and it was not by another titan or cosmic force, but by a human, small, resilient, and unyielding. Alex stood at the center of the arena, catching his breath and absorbing the enormity of what he had just accomplished. He had come to this place not for glory, but to prove a point, to himself and to the galaxy. But as the crowd's ovation continued to grow, he realized that this victory was not just his alone. It was a victory for Earth, a reminder to all that strength was not just about size or power, but about heart, strategy, and the will to endure. Kurak, standing tall despite his defeat, approached Alex once more. There was no animosity in his eyes, only respect. "You fought well," he said, his voice steady, despite the pain evident in his movements. "You have done what no one else could. Today, you have not just defeated a warrior, you have changed what it means to be one." Alex nodded, the weight of Kurak's words sinking in. He had never sought to change the galaxy, only to prove a point. But as he looked out at the crowd, he realized that perhaps Kurak was right. In that moment, Alex saw not just the faces of those who had doubted him, but the hope in the eyes of countless others who saw in him a reflection of their own struggles, their own battles against impossible odds. "Thank you," Alex said simply, his voice carrying the weight of his gratitude. He extended his hand to Kurak, who clasped it firmly. The gesture was more than just a sign of sportsmanship. It was a bridge between two worlds, two warriors who had found mutual respect in the crucible of combat. As the two warriors exited the arena, Alex could feel the eyes of the galaxy upon him. Reporters, dignitaries, and spectators alike crowded around, eager for a word, a statement, anything to capture the significance of the moment. But Alex was exhausted, and all he could think of was finding a quiet place to reflect on the battle that had just unfolded. "Alex Carter," called a voice from the throng. Alex turned to see a reporter pushing through the crowd, a microphone in hand and a camera drone hovering above. "What's next for you? How does it feel to be the first to defeat Kurak?" Alex paused, considering the question. He had spent so long preparing for this fight that he had scarcely thought about what would come after. But now, standing here in the aftermath of his greatest challenge, he realized that the path forward was as uncertain as ever. "It feels surreal," Alex replied, choosing his words carefully. "Kurak is an incredible warrior, and this was the toughest fight of my life. But this isn't just about me. I hope this shows that no matter where you come from or what the odds are, you can still make a difference." The crowd erupted in applause once more, the message resonating across the galaxy. Alex knew that his journey was far from over. There would be new challenges, new battles to face. But for now, he had proven what he set out to prove. And in doing so, he had set in motion a change that would ripple through the stars. Chapter 6. Echoes of a New Era. The news of Alex's victory spread like wildfire across the galaxy, echoing in the halls of power, in the slums of distant planets, and in the hearts of those who had long felt powerless. Kurak's defeat marked more than just the end of an undefeated streak. It was a symbol of change, a beacon of hope for those who believed that the old order could be challenged and that the impossible could be achieved. Back on Earth, Alex was greeted as a hero. Crowds lined the streets, banners waving in the wind as celebrations erupted in every city. For a planet often overshadowed by larger, more influential worlds, Alex's victory was a source of immense pride. He had shown the galaxy that Earth was not to be underestimated, that its people could stand toe-to-toe with the best and emerge victorious. But as the celebrations continued, Alex found himself grappling with the implications of his newfound fame. Offers poured in, from sponsorships to invitations to join elite fighting leagues across the galaxy. Everyone wanted a piece of the man who had defeated Kurak. But Alex was wary of the sudden attention. He had not fought Kurak for fame or fortune. He had done it to prove something to himself. And now, surrounded by the glare of the spotlight, he felt a pull to something deeper. Amid the chaos of his return, Alex received a message that caught him by surprise. It was from Kurak. The defeated warrior had returned to his homeworld, but he had not retreated into obscurity. Instead, Kurak was using his defeat as a catalyst for change, challenging the rigid traditions of his people and advocating for a new way of thinking about strength and honor. "Your victory was not just a loss for me," Kurak's message read. "It was a lesson that strength is not the sole domain of the powerful. I have much to learn, and I wish to continue this journey, not as rivals, but as allies. Together we can show the galaxy that there is more to being a warrior than brute force." Alex was moved by the message. Kurak's humility and willingness to grow even in the face of defeat was a testament to his character. It was an opportunity that Alex could not ignore. He responded in kind, agreeing to meet Kurak and discuss what their partnership could achieve. The idea of working alongside the warrior he had fought so hard to defeat was unexpected, but it felt right. They had both been changed by the battle, and now they had a chance to shape something new. Their meeting took place on a neutral world, away from the prying eyes of the media and the expectations of their respective followers. It was a quiet, simple affair, two warriors, stripped of titles and accolades, discussing the future. They talked about the traditions that bound them, the challenges they had faced, and the possibilities that lay ahead. "We can do more," Kurak said, his voice earnest. "We can inspire others, show them that there is no shame in being defeated if you rise again. We can teach that true strength lies not just in victory, but in the willingness to learn and grow." Alex nodded, feeling a kinship with Kurak that went beyond their battle. "I've spent my life fighting to survive, Alex said. "But there's more to it than that. We can use our experiences to help others find their own paths, to show them that they can be more than what they're told they are." Their conversation laid the groundwork for a new alliance, one that sought to redefine what it meant to be a warrior in the galaxy. It was not about creating a new fighting league or chasing personal glory. It was about mentorship, about guiding the next generation of warriors to find their own strengths and to challenge the status quo. Together, Alex and Kurak began to travel, visiting worlds and speaking to those who had been inspired by their battle. They met with young fighters, offering guidance and support, encouraging them to embrace their own unique strengths. Their message was clear. Anyone could be a warrior, not just those with the most power or the strongest fists. It was a message that resonated deeply, sparking a movement that began to spread across the galaxy. Old rivalries softened, and new alliances were formed as more and more beings found strength in their differences rather than their similarities. Chapter 7. A New Challenge. Months passed, and the impact of Alex and Kurak's partnership continued to grow. They had become symbols of a new era, one where strength was measured not just by victories, but by the courage to stand up, to learn, and to grow. Together, they had changed the landscape of galactic combat, inspiring countless others to pursue their own paths with newfound confidence. But as their movement gained momentum, a new challenge loomed on the horizon. Whispers began to circulate of a new warrior rising from the far reaches of the galaxy, an enigmatic figure known only as the Shadow, whose skills and tactics were unlike anything seen before. The Shadow was said to be undefeated, having dispatched a series of powerful opponents with a precision and ruthlessness that left no room for error. Rumors spread quickly, painting the Shadow as a dark reflection of everything Alex and Kurak stood for. Where they promoted unity and growth, the Shadow embodied a cold, calculating pursuit of power. There were no messages of hope or respect, only domination. It was a direct challenge to the ideals that Alex and Kurak had worked so hard to establish, and it could not be ignored. Alex and Kurak knew that they would eventually have to confront this new threat. It was not just about defending their legacy. It was about standing up for the values they had come to represent. The Shadow's rise threatened to undo the progress they had made, and neither Alex nor Kurak was willing to let that happen without a fight. The challenge was issued, this time not in a grand arena, but in a more secluded, controlled setting. It was to be a test not just of physical prowess, but of the philosophies that each fighter embodied. Alex and Kurak prepared together, honing their skills and refining their strategies. They knew that this would be their greatest challenge yet, not because of the Shadow's reputation, but because of what was at stake. The day of the confrontation arrived, and the galaxy watched with bated breath. The Shadow stood at the far end of the field, shrouded in darkness and mystery. There was an intensity to the Shadow's presence that was almost palpable, a sense of danger that permeated the air. Alex and Kurak exchanged a glance, a silent affirmation of the bond they had forged. They were not just fighting for themselves, but for everyone who believed in the possibility of change. As the battle began, it was clear that the Shadow was unlike any opponent they had faced before. His movements were fluid and precise, each strike aimed with lethal intent, but Alex and Kurak had not come this far to be intimidated. They fought with everything they had, drawing on their experiences and their partnership to counter the Shadow's relentless assault. The battle was fierce, a clash of ideologies as much as a contest of skill. But as the fight wore on, Alex and Kurak's unity proved to be their greatest strength. They moved in sync, covering each other's weaknesses and exploiting every opening with a level of teamwork that the Shadow could not match. In the end, it was not a single blow that ended the fight, but a culmination of everything they had learned and shared. With a final coordinated strike, Alex and Kurak brought the Shadow to his knees. The galaxy erupted in celebration, not just for the victory, but for the reaffirmation of the values that Alex and Kurak represented. The Shadow, defeated but not disgraced, stood slowly, his eyes meeting Alex's. There was a moment of tension, but then, to everyone's surprise, the Shadow bowed, a gesture of respect and acknowledgement. It was a small but significant sign that even those who seemed beyond reach could still be touched by the ideals of honor and respect. Alex and Kurak had won more than just a battle. They had solidified their place in the galaxy's history as champions not just of combat, but of the spirit. Together, they continued their journey, knowing that there would always be new challenges, new adversaries to face. But with each step, they carried forward the legacy of their hard-won battle, a legacy that would inspire countless others to stand up, to fight, and to believe in the possibility of change. If you enjoy this video, then don't forget to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell.